wondering if in your work you did any cross-cultural studies of, you know, different types of relationships. Yeah, I was thinking that you know, polyamory is maybe, you know, more accepted in other cultures, and I was wondering if that, have you ever visited or included that type of study in your work?
Yeah, I have, and in fact, I spent a good part of not this past year, but the 2 years before that, traveling mostly in Asia and India, but also in Mexico, in Greece and Turkey, and I've been very interested, of course, in this question. And when I meet people and, you know, immediately they want to know who I am and what I do, I start hearing all the stories. So it's not scientific research, but it's a lot of observation and a lot of anecdotes. And the interesting thing is that polyamory is a modern movement. You know, as we talk about it today, and maybe I should say, if you don't already know, it's like Greek and Latin for many loves. And we created this word because responsible non-monogamy sounded like and felt like it was in reaction to monogamy. But actually this is a new made-up word from the late 1980s. And prior to that, polygamy was a word that was mostly used to talk about committed relationships or marriage type relationships that involve more than two people. And we didn't like that word because in most of the world, in the entire Muslim world and much of Africa, much of Asia, at least in modern history, there's been a tradition of polygamy for men only. And of course in the United States, most people know that this was part of the Mormon lifestyle before they were forced to give it up as a condition of statehood. But in the rest of the world, they weren't trying to become part of the United States, and so men have been allowed, under Muslim law, up to 4 wives. And actually this was the same in Judaism up until about 1100. So in most of the world, if a man is wealthy enough to support more wives, that's allowed. In Asia, there's not so much a specific limit on how many concubines, and this was a legal status that women could have. There, at one time there were multiple wives, and then that changed around the time of Confucius. It would be one number one wife and the rest legal concubines, which meant that they have legal rights to property and inheritance, and the children are recognized in all of this. So it's really only in the United States that monogamy has been taken very seriously. In Europe, it's one marriage partner, but I'm told by my European friends that it's really assumed that people are going to have partners outside of the marriage, and this is totally fine as long as it's done considerately and discreetly. I think we're shifting to something like this in the United States, but Americans seem to have more interest in what's come to be called transparency than people in many other cultures. And although there are lots of secret affairs that go on in this country, and some people like it that way, a lot of people are not very comfortable with the idea of a secret affair. They would rather be open and honest. And so that's a movement that really started in the United States, if we're going to rule out this long-time patriarchal tradition of more than one partner for men only. It's since spread all over Europe, the United Kingdom, India, even China, Japan, all all of these countries, South America, all of these countries now have polyamory movements, which are active to one degree or another. And many of them are modeling their whole thing on what my work and the work of other people here in the United States. So it's kind of ironic in a way. It's a turnaround that people who really weren't that interested in practicing monogamy in the first place are now importing polyamory from the United States. And it's, in some of these countries, more popular than others. And I could say more about that, but maybe I'll pause and see if this is what you were interested in.
Thanks.